Chapter 3. The Argument. My turn to do inspection. Great, right? Well, actually it was, since I got to do it with Percy. When we got to the Poseidon cabin, Percy gave himself a 4 out of 5. I looked at the half-made bed, clothes on the floor, and stale bagel sitting on the nightstand. "You're being generous," I sighed and told Percy, as I used my pencil to pick up a pair of shorts off the dresser. Percy snatched the shorts away. "Hey, give me a break. I don't have Tyson cleaning up after me this summer." 3 out of 5, I compromised. Luckily, he didn't argue. Good. He knew who was in charge, I thought, and smiled to myself. I watched Percy look depressed as he sorted through reports as we walked. I felt so bad for him. I know, I keep saying that, but hey, it's true, and I can't stop thinking about it. I stared at his eyes. Even though I'd seen them a million times before, every time I saw them, they managed to impress me. They were just so gorgeous. A dark, swirly green with blue near the center of his eye. Then there was a navy blue ring around it. I had never, and probably would never, see eyes like those again. His bangs blew in the wind, and his cheeks glowed pink. His long, dark lashes were the same color as his hair. Then he had slightly chapped lips, as usual. Gods of Olympus, why did he have to be so damn cute? When he looked up, I quickly turned away, hoping he hadn't noticed my glare towards him. We arrived at the Aphrodite cabin, which, as always, deserved 5 out of 5. Neat beds lined the walls. Everyone's clothing was color-coordinated, and beautiful flowers were blooming on the windowsill. "Don't you think we should dock a point?" Percy asked me. "Why?" I asked. My tone sounded annoyed, and I glanced at Selena. "Because the place reeks of designer perfume." Maybe he was right, but blind as well. We needed to be easy on Selena after Beckendorf's death. Naturally, I pushed past him and ignored him, and said to Selena, "Great job as usual, Selena." Selena nodded, in a manner that led me to believe she was only half there. The wall behind her bed was covered with pictures of Beckendorf. There was a box of chocolates on her lap, which she lifelessly nibbled on. Must be from her dad. "You want a bonbon?" Selena asked Percy and I. "My dad sent them. He thought they might cheer me up." "Are they any good?" Percy asked. Seaweed brain, are you kidding me? Does that really matter at a time like this? I rolled my eyes. "They taste like cardboard," Selena responded as she shook her head. Like an idiot, Percy took one, and I politely passed. We promised to talk to Selena later, and continued our jobs. When we stepped outside, I felt my mouth dry up. Everything was still hectic. The Ares and Apollo kids seemed to be in full-out war. I watched in horror as some of the Apollo kids shot flaming arrows at the roof of the Ares cabin, lighting it on fire. Luckily, some of the Naiads rushed to put it out. Suddenly, the arrows of the Apollo kids turned to rubber. Ares must have put a curse on them again. I glanced to my left and saw 2 angry Ares campers chasing an archer and yelling, "Curse me, eh? I'll make you pay! I don't want to rhyme all day!" Ugh, that again? Seriously? At first, I thought it was funny, until it went on for like a week. I sighed. Not that again. Last time Apollo cursed a cabin, it took a week for the rhyming couplets to wear off. Next to me, Percy shuddered. I guess he must be thinking about how awful Apollo's poetry is. See how well I know him? I can even tell what he's thinking. Except, of course, when it comes to girls. My curse. I ignored him and scribbled on the sheet, giving both cabins 1 out of 5. I could feel his gaze on me. I resisted the urge to fix my hair. He was probably thinking about how awful I looked. I decided to answer him, to cut off the awkward silence that had gone on. "The flying chariot." Huh? I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. Was he really thinking about me that much? "You asked what they were fighting about." Oh, right. They captured it in a raid in Philadelphia last week. Some of Luke's demigods were there with that flying chariot. The Apollo cabin seized it during the battle, but the Ares cabin led the raid, so they've been fighting about who gets it ever since. I was cut off by MCLEOD in the flying chariot overhead. An Ares camper tried to stab him, In the process, he shouted some very creative cuss words that I was sure made me blush. Yep, that's how bad they were. "We're fighting for our lives," Percy cut off my train of thoughts. "And they're bickering about some stupid chariot." "They'll get over it," I said to Percy, but really more trying to reassure myself. "Clarice will come to her senses." I tried to forget about it as we inspected more cabins. When we came to the Athena cabin, it was pretty neat, as usual. All armor was polished, the books were straightened, blueprints and battle maps decorated the walls. Home, I sighed. Then I glanced at my bunk. I saw my laptop open and running, and papers were scattered all around it. "Flaccus," I muttered. I was calling myself an idiot in Greek. Malcolm looked like he was trying to suppress a smile. "Yeah, we cleaned everything else. Didn't know if it was safe to move your notes." He glanced at Percy and grinned. Then he looked at me. Did he know how I felt about a certain son of Poseidon? "We'll wait outside while you finish inspection." He then left, smiling like an idiot. Was he trying to tell Percy I like him? Was he trying to set us up or something? I decided to let it pass. For now, at least. Percy looked through some reports as I tidied up. I paused as I realized something. We were alone. It was against camp rules for 2 campers to be alone in one cabin. I had been reminded of that rule when Selena and Beckendorf had started dating. It had come up a lot. But me and Percy? That was okay, right? I decided right then that Seaweed Brain needed to know how I felt. Before it was too late. I heard Percy clear his throat, and he glanced at my laptop. "So, get any good info from that thing?" "Too much," I told him. "Daedalus had so many ideas, I could spend 50 years just trying to figure them all out." "Yeah," I heard Percy mutter under his breath. "That would be fun." I took my chance, after tucking my hair behind my ear, like I always did when I was nervous. "You know, this whole thing with Beckendorf and Selena, it kind of makes you think about what's important. About losing people who are important." Percy nodded. I crossed my fingers behind my back, hoping he would make the connection. I held my breath as he started to talk. Yeah. Like, is everything cool with your family?" "Okay. I would normally be angry, but now I was just really, really sad." "I know. Descriptive, right? I just wanted him to know." "My dad wanted to take me to Greece this summer," I responded, disappointed. "I've always wanted to see—" "The Parthenon," Percy said. I smiled to myself. He remembered. "Yeah," I said. "That's okay. There'll be other summers, right?" I stared at Percy, and he turned red when he realized what he had just said. We were facing the end of the world here. There might not be other summers. Oh, Seaweed Brain. I stared at my inspection scroll. 3 out of 5, I muttered. For a sloppy head counselor. Come on, let's finish your reports and get back to Chiron. I really had said 3 out of 5 to have the same score as Percy. I know. Dumb, right? On the way back to Chiron, we read the last report, which I could tell made Percy feel worse. Me as well. "Dear Grover," he read, "woods outside Toronto attacked by a giant evil badger. Tried to do as you suggested and summon the power of Pan. No effect. Many Naiads trees destroyed. Retreating to Ottawa. Please advise. Where are you? Gleason Hedge, Protector." I grimaced. "You haven't heard anything from him? Even with your empathy link?" Percy shook his head. Grover had been traveling all over the coast to spread the word about Pan and convince creatures to help us in the upcoming war. As far as I knew, nobody had heard from him in 2 months. We had tried to IM him, with no connection. My last hope had been Percy's empathy link with him. If he wasn't getting any connection, there was almost no hope of finding him. I momentarily stopped breathing. But if Grover was dead, then Percy would be too. So there really was still hope. There had to be. Percy looked deep in thought, and then looked as if he was deciding to tell me something or not. Did he know where Grover was? Annabeth? Percy stopped me by the tetherball cord. Listen, I had this dream about, Rachel. He went on about Rachel painting a picture of Luke as a child, and then a picture of the Empire State Building being surrounded and attacked. Gods, he could just go on and on about that girl sometimes. Did he even process the clues I was giving him? Did he just ignore them because he doesn't want things to be that way between us? For a while, I didn't know what to say. Then I rolled up my inspection scroll really tight, which made it rip. What do you want me to say? I'm not sure. You're the best strategist I know. If you were Kronos planning this war, what would you do next? Was that all I was to him? A great strategist? I'd use Typhon as a distraction. Then I'd hit Olympus directly, while the gods were in the west. Just like Rachel's picture. What did he think she was? An oracle? She couldn't tell the future. She was just a mortal. Percy, I said, trying to sound calm. Rachel is a mortal. But what if her dream is true? Those other Titans, they said Olympus would be destroyed in a matter of days. They said they had plenty of other challenges. And what's with that picture of Luke as a kid? I cut him off before he could say anything that would completely tick me off. We'll just have to be ready. How? Percy pleaded. Look at our camp. We can't even stop fighting each other, and I'm supposed to get my stupid soul reaped. He sounded like he was either really starting to figure out how serious this was, or he was taking it like a game. He looked scared, though, so I figured it was the first one. Why did he keep running away from us? Did he not realize I didn't like it when he talked about Rachel or Luke? Why did he bring them both up? Could he not tell I was angry? I knew we shouldn't have shown you the prophecy. I threw down my scroll. All it did was scare you. You run away from things when you're scared. He looked completely stunned. Obviously, he didn't realize what I was talking about. Well, I was going to let him know. Me? He asked. Run away? I got right in his face. Yes, you. You're a coward, Percy Jackson. We were nose to nose. I felt my eyes burning, and I desperately tried to hold in the tears. I watched realization dawn on him. Did I really have to get this angry for him to finally understand? If you don't like our chances, I told him, clenching my teeth, maybe you should just go on that vacation with Rachel. Annabeth, if you don't like our company. I felt blood where I was biting my lip to keep from crying. That's not fair. Really? It wasn't fair to him, huh? Did he even know what I had been going through? I pushed past him and hit the tetherball hard, sending it spinning around the pole. After crying in my cabin, I went to the assembly at the campfire to burn Beckendorf's shroud and say our goodbyes. I noticed the Ares and Apollo kids had a truce, which I guessed was temporary to attend. His shroud was made of metal, which was all linked together. I wondered how it would possibly burn, but it did. The fates must have been helping out. I watched the smoke turn golden as it burned and rose into the sky. The flames burned black, which definitely mirrored the moods of the campers. I knew Beckendorf would end up in Elysium. Maybe I could talk to Nico, even though I hadn't seen him in a while, and see if he could speak with Beckendorf's spirit. I then realized there was a boy walking towards me. A boy with black hair and green eyes. Percy. Annabeth, listen. But I stomped off towards my cabin. He wasn't going to be let off easily this time. After scanning my laptop a bit, which was really empty, I was actually thinking about Percy the whole time. I decided I needed to talk with Percy. With the war coming, it was not a good time to hold grudges. I walked around camp, looking for him. He didn't seem to be anywhere. I started to get nervous. Maybe the woods? I walked in, just to be met by Juniper. Hey, Juniper, I asked. Have you seen Percy?
Yeah, he's down in the grove with Nico and Linnaeus. But, Annabeth, if you knew something about Grover, you would tell me, right?
She looked a bit broken. I remembered what I had felt when Percy was missing last summer. Grover had been gone 2 months, and Percy was only gone for 2 weeks. I pulled her into a hug. If I knew anything besides what we'd already talked about, you would be the first to know, I told her, and she smiled.
Thanks, Annabeth. And, can I ask you something?
Anything. What could this be about?
Do you have feelings for Percy?
I stopped. Why would she want to know? But this was Juniper, and I had gotten to know her well. I guess I could finally spill the truth. It would feel good for someone to know. I do. It's just, we've been arguing, and things got more complicated when Rachel came along, and I just need to talk to him. I sputtered it out.
I knew it! She yelled. Grover was right! And, thanks for trusting me. I'll keep it a secret, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who suspected that.
What do you mean? What, other people knew?
It's just, don't take this offensively. I'm the same way, but you guys aren't the best at hiding your feelings when it comes to each other.
Well, of course not, I said. I've been trying to give him the clue forever.
Yeah, you guys would be perfect together. But you better act fast. You know, with the war. You should go. Go find him. Go fix things.
Thanks, Juniper. It's nice to know someone understands. I hugged her again and waved to her as I sped towards the grove. But when I got there was nothing. He was gone.